person would you realistically have life?
We'll get started in about 10 minutes, guys. I feel you, noble guy. I feel you. That's a good way to describe it. I like that. That's good. Yeah, that's it. We'll get started in like 5-6 minutes. That sounds good. Five minutes. 5 minutes. If you have any opinions or thoughts that you would like us to talk about, you can put them in chat right now, and we will get to them when we get started in 5 minutes. Yes, Michael. Yes, pain. But you know, that's why we're here, so you can be in pain with us and we can talk about it. Always feels, it's kind of like therapy if you think about it. It's always good to talk about your feelings. So that's what we'll do. We'll talk about our feelings. Three minutes. Yes, noble guy. This is the first thing in my notes, actually. Yep. Very true. Exactly, Michael, exactly. Exactly. Two minutes? Oh my goodness. This is the latest episode ever. We are last night we finished at 1:12 and we're starting at 1:15 ish. Give or take a few minutes. We're waiting for tag to be ready. But yeah, I mean still. Late episode. Tag is finishing something and then he will be right here and we will start in the next couple of minutes. Michael, I did not cry on the way back to my car. I cried a little bit in the stands, just a little, which I'll be honest about. Mostly about Gavin and Caden, not the game itself, but yeah. Any thoughts, questions, or concerns in the chat, we will address them when we get started in a couple minutes. Anything at all that you have to say, you can say it here. Yeah, this is also at the top of my notes, noble guy. Yep. I agree. Yep. You know, so when we played Tennessee Tech game one of Tennessee Tech's players slipped and fell on his way to first base after he hit a home run. And we made fun of it. And then to end the season, one of our own players slipped and fell on his way to first base to end the season. So that's about how it went. Okay, Tag, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right,
Let's rock and roll.
cool. All right, let's get started, everybody. Well, this is our last reaction show of the year. Texas A&M season is now over. After a 7-1 loss to USC, A&M is eliminated in the College Station Regional. After going 2-0, they win the first two games and then they drop the last two to the same team. Um, I guess I don't even know where to start. But I mean, USC was better than you yesterday, in pretty much every single way, and they were better than you tonight. Um, what were your general impressions? Watching from the stands. Tag.
About, I mean, you just said it how good they were. That was just that was basic impression. We knew their pitching was legit, but when they've scored 49 runs in 3 games head going into tonight, it added 7 more. I mean, they got you talk about getting right at the hot time. They definitely did, and it seemed like A&M peaked pretty much after shortly after like the Florida series, I would say, and it's hard to say that. But they peaked right before Auburn. It felt like.
Yeah, the game tonight, to me, even after the first 6 innings, this is before USC even scored. I thought the way that the game was going heavily favored USC the entire time, which was that, first of all, player of the game is Clayton Freshcorn. Player of the regional is Clayton. I don't even care. I mean, he threw over 100 pitches. He gave you 4 scoreless innings before he shut USC out for 4 innings and threw 5 scoreless innings in the game. Clayton Freshcorn gave you more than you could have asked for. I would argue he gave you twice as much as you expected him to give you. We saw like Shane Sadeo starts to get hot in the 3rd inning, and we said, okay, they were going to go with Clayton for 3 innings or so, and then they were going to go to Shane or somebody else. No, he pitched through the 7th inning, and he was unbelievable. He kept you in this game. He's the one guy that really gave you a chance to win. And the story of the night is that you just didn't score. I know it says that USC scored 7 runs. I don't. It doesn't matter to me. I think the game is more competitive and different if you score more earlier on. Yeah, I just thought that the game tonight heavily favored USC the entire time, which was that the question in the back of our heads was how long until USC finally hits the ball. And once they took the lead, it just felt like, yeah, here we go. Yeah, I mean, the A&M scored 3 runs last night and 1 run tonight. A&M has averaged over 9 runs a game this season and the entire season basically, and they scored 4 in 2 games against USC. So, yeah, they were. I don't know. USC is really impressive to me. What do you think
Yeah,
about USC?
they're really talented on the mound, and then what impressed me the most is Augie Lopez. I mean, for all the games we watched, I think I watched every single USC game live in person. I mean, it felt like everything that he hit was barreled. Which was getting into my next point is I think this was Early's worst managed game of the year.
Yeah,
And I
definitely
don't
got to get into that.
and I don't think it's close. I mean, like, yeah, I get the first time he beat you to give him the lead. Yeah, he's gonna with the open base. I would have liked walking him to give the right on right matchup against Takuchi or whatever his name is, but it is what it is. You're only down 1, so I get pitching to him, and then when he's at 95 pitches plus, and he faces him again, and you have Sadeo already hot, and you don't go to him, and then he goes yard. That was what frustrated me more. Um, and what really killed the whole game is what we talked.
Yeah,
We talked about this is when we don't know what happened. Cliff might have held him. I wasn't watching. I was watching Jordan beat out the throw at first. But Chris being sent in the 4th inning that really killed all the momentum in the stadium. And then I just had that gut feeling of when you have bases loaded and you don't score, the other team usually scores immediately after that with the momentum shift that
yep.
happens. And that's exactly what happened. And right after that happened, the game was pretty much over.
So let's go through this. Before we go through the game inning by inning, let's go through just the mistakes A&M made in this game.
Mhm.
Let's keep this in mind here. So this is the regional final. You win this game, you go to the supers. You would think that the team would not come out so sloppy and play so sloppy, but they did. So let's go through this. The first big mistake of the night. Chris Akopian is at second base.
Mhm.
I don't remember who's at first base, but you had runners. Here's what happened: you had runners at first and second with 2 outs. Jorian Wilson puts up a really great at bat. He hits the ball into the shift as he did. He hit the ball into the shift 4 times, all 4 times tonight, basically. I think 3. I don't. It doesn't matter. Jorian hits the ball into the shift to the second baseman, pretty soft. So he's the second baseman is unable to make the play at first to get him out. And I did watch the interview after the game. Cliff Pennington did send Chris Akopian home from second, who is injured. He's limping a little bit. He's not at full strength, so that's questionable to begin with. But basically, what Early said was that a lot of times in plays like that, where you you throw the ball to first base to get the runner, the first baseman, and it's like a really close play, the way that it was, the first baseman isn't paying attention, and you're able to steal a run at home. This was planned. Early was on board with it. It was not a mistake. They knew that the ball was gloved by the second baseman. They didn't. Cliff and Early did not think that the ball got into the outfield. They knew the second baseman gloved it and threw it to first, and they tried to catch USC off guard and steal a run at home. And USC wasn't fooled. They saw it. And so that's what happened. It was just a failed little plan by A&M.
Mhm.
Um, that in itself, that's what happened. If it works, it looks genius. In hindsight, if it doesn't work, it looks stupid. But here's why you shouldn't do it at all, in my opinion, is you have Bear Harrison up to bat, who hit a home run his last at bat with the bases loaded against the same pitcher. So I don't know why you try to steal a run there. You had momentum. You would have the bases loaded, yes, with 2 outs, but that was your most momentum filled inning of the game. Yeah, just now that I know that it was not a mistake and that it was planned and that that's what they wanted to do, I disagree with the decision. That was really
Yeah.
confusing to me. What did you think?
Yeah, I mean, I get it because I watch it. I watch a lot of baseball, and that happens all the time. The first baseman disagrees with the umpire, and he turns to his coach immediately and does the we're challenging it. And Adrian Lopez literally just looked and fired it right to home, and Chris Wilson was barely even halfway down the line. So it just looks really bad. But if it works out, like you said, you look like a genius, and Olson's rocking. But since it didn't work, everyone, I mean, it went from as loud as at the loudest safe you would hear in the building to what are we doing, spread out around the sections.
Yeah, again, to me, like if it was Boston Kellner that was up or somebody that had been struggling to get on base, I get it. But it was Bear Harrison, who is one of the best players at getting on base, and he always puts up a really good at bat, and he hit a home run. He was one of the only guys that had hard contact against Grant Gavell tonight. So just I don't know, really confusing decision, but it does make me feel a little bit better that it was intentional because originally in the stands we thought that maybe Cliff thought the ball had gotten into the outfield and had gotten past the second baseman. So obviously, yes, then you would have sent Chris home, but no, it was a part of the plan. The staff, they just tried to steal a run at home and get some
Mhm.
momentum going. So that was the first mistake of the game. Moving to the next thing that happened. So Jake Dewar like hits a ball and it gets past the third baseman. It was pretty soft, but it rolled into the corner, and this was very easily would have been a double. And he trips and falls in between in between home and first base, and face plants into the ground, and he's unable to go to second. And then the very next play is the very next at bat is a double play. I don't remember who's
It
after.
was Partita.
Partita grounds into
Partita
a
hits
double
a
play.
rocket one hopper right at the third baseman, and it's tailor made double play. Um, which it just really sucks. I mean, you even if like it's pitched completely different with a runner on second. The whole at bat is different with a runner on second, with 1 out. Yeah, it just it felt like the luck of the last 2 days. That was the perfect example. You trip over first, not getting a double. Next pitch is inning-ending double play.
Yep.
Um,
Yep. And then the third big mistake I thought was, let's talk about Clayton Freshcorn. His final numbers, he went 6 2/3, gave up 9 hits, 5 earned runs. walked one and struck out five. He threw 101 pitches and he threw 71 of them for strikes. He held USC to zero. She shut him out until the fifth when they scored two. That's when they took the lead. He held them to zero in the sixth, and then he gave up the 3-run homer in the seventh. Um, I mean, I get that. I know Clayton wants to pitch more and all of that, but he pitched more than enough tonight. I mean, 101 pitches for a closer. He hadn't. This is his first start of his career at A&M, and he threw over 100 pitches. So the controversial move is that with runners on first and second, with I don't remember how many outs, but whatever. With runners on first and second, um, Clayton was facing Augie Lopez.
Yeah.
Yeah, Augie Lopez for the fourth time. And he had really, really good at bats against Clayton throughout the game, like fouling a lot of pitches off. Hadn't really put a barrel on a ball yet, but you could tell that he was figuring Clayton out. And Clayton was nearing 100 pitches, and early in the staff decided to keep him in the game and pitch to Augie. And Augie sent the ball to the train tracks to blow the game open. Which it's only a 4-run game at that point. It's 5-1, but the game fell over. That was the knockout punch. And so that's going to be the discussion: is did Early mismanage that? Should Clayton have been pulled earlier and you go to Shane or whatever? Like, yeah, to me, Clayton looked really tired, and he was facing a guy that had 3 really good at bats against him before that, and then obviously he finally found the barrel and blew the game open. So, yeah, first of all, like, what did you think of Clayton Freshcorn's night? And then secondly, like, do you think he should have been pulled earlier?
I mean, it's all going to be overshadowed because of what happened in the seventh. He threw the ball outstanding today or yesterday, whatever. He was all you could ask for and more. And then, do I think he should have been pulled? Yes, I thought he should have been pulled. He literally faced their best player, the best player in the regional by far, was not close for the fourth time. And it's just when you see a pitcher 2 times, the numbers go up. When you see a pitcher the fourth time, the numbers are very inflated. So
Yeah.
Would I have liked to see a lefty in there? Yeah, and that doesn't even mean it should have been Shane. It literally could have been any one of the lefties on that was available to pitch today, whether that's Cooper Powell, whether that's Ethan Darden, whether that's Hunter Vincent, any lefty to come in the game there, I would have been perfectly okay with. But that's all. This is all hindsight. If he gets a ground ball right into the shift, it's a double play, and it's only 2-1 still. And I mean, I thought he threw the ball really well. And if you're going to live and die by your guys that have gotten you to this point, I'm perfectly okay with it. And this year was awesome to watch Clayton Freshcorn pitch. And so if he's going to keep him in there, I fully support the decision, but I would have done something different.
And maybe not even in that moment, but maybe Clayton should have been done after 6. And then you go to Shane or Lyons to start the 7th. Like, to me, it felt like they were getting greedy. And we talked about this before the game. We said last night that we both thought you should start Freshcorn. We weren't convinced they were going to start Freshcorn, but we thought it was the right idea. And then we were like so overjoyed when we got the tweet from Richard Zane that they were starting Freshcorn. And if you had told me that Freshcorn was going to pitch 4 scoreless and get pulled, I'd say that's perfect. Like, that's great. That's what you need from him. And you hope that the offense finds something. If you told me that he goes 6 innings and only gives up 2 runs, I'd say, oh, are you kidding me? Like, Clayton might be one of your weekend starters next year that's more than enough for you. And so maybe you should have pulled him after 6 and then go to Gavin Lyons or Shane Sadeo in the 7th. But I mean, this is all very hindsight 2020. So let's go through a couple comments because there's a couple other mistakes in these comments that I forgot about during the game. First comment: watching that game was like having a wet pillow stuffed over your face. Yes, I agree. It was torture. The old adage, yes. So we went to Whataburger after this game. I told Tag, like, think about how impressive what USC did was. They lost a very, very emotional game to Texas State in game 2 of the regional. That was USC's first game. They lost that game, and then they went on to win the regional. That is on the road, right? Like that is really impressive. That's really hard to do, and they did it with good pitching. Like that's what
Mhm.
won them these games. I know their offense was really good over the last 4 games, but they pitched all of these games really, really well. And so, yeah, I mean, I think that the adage is true. Like good pitching beats good hitting, and it definitely did in these last 2 games.
Mhm. Yeah, I agree. I mean, the guys they rolled out were legit dudes, and even the guys like they didn't even some of them didn't throw very hard either. They were just really good mixing it up and locating and yeah, I didn't expect it. If I'm going to be blatant, I didn't expect. Um, if you would have told me yesterday we would or going into Sunday you'd lose 14-3 or 13-4, like that just never I would have never thought that that would have been the case after how they played against Texas State. But good pitching when the pitching was that good all weekend, and then they get anything from the offense, which they hadn't all year, and then they explode. It's like when you strike oil, when you hit oil and it just overflows. That's what
Yeah,
it felt like. It just felt like that.
yeah. We're gonna talk about this after the game. After our little, we're gonna finish up talking about the game from tonight, and we'll talk about Jason Kelly. We'll talk about early. We'll talk about the season. We will do that in 1 second. So bring the comments about your thoughts on that stuff
Mhm.
because we will engage with all of it. That's gonna be the fun part of the night or the morning because it's freaking 1:30 in the morning.
Yeah.
Um, okay, the other big moment in this game that a lot of people are gonna overlook. So USC was stealing second.
Oh, yeah. That's
Bear Harrison threw an absolute rocket to Boston Kellner at second base to tag the guy out, and Boston missed the tag. It was a great throw. He beat the runner, and Boston Kellner missed the tag. That was with 2 outs. It would have ended the inning. And then in a 2-strike count, USC hits a double into the gap, and that's how they took the lead in the game.
and shocker, guess who it was? Shocker, Augie Lopez.
Yep.
And there's a base open. Like, yeah, I get like that was the first pitch of the at bat. He's safe at second in him challenges. You could put him on right then. Put him on right there and get to but yeah, all of it's null and void if you get the tag down. No matter how up and down Boston's season was this year, he is a freshman. Like, well, these guys will learn from what's happening, and so will early will learn um, from from this. Like, this is his second season as a head coach ever.
Yep.
Like, yeah, there's gonna be up and downs too there about how he managed the pitching staff against Oklahoma, against Missouri, against Vanderbilt. It was all questionable, especially first game Vanderbilt. But like in general, like yeah, it was up and down from a managerial aspect, but that's to be expected. Like there's a reason why you should have faith in him because he's learning from his mistakes. Like that's in my opinion. And then we'll get into some of the other stuff that I wanted to bring up after the game because I think it was very intriguing what they did in the ninth inning. But yeah, you can.
Yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about the game. We can talk about Jason Kelly and all that now. Like, you just got beat by USC, who's better than you. It was the toughest 2 seed draw that you could possibly imagine. USC is the highest RPI 2 seed in the in NCAA tournament history. They are
Mhm.
9 in the RPI, and they were a 2 seed in your regional, and they have the best run prevention in college baseball. So that's the worst matchup possible for A&M's against A&M. You could argue like they're almost a better version of Auburn in a way. Like I know that Auburn's probably a better team, but they're very similar to Auburn in that it's an
Mhm.
elite pitching staff and a very average offense. And A&M's lineup got shut down, and then USC's lineup exposed A&M's pitching, and that's what it was.
Mhm.
So let's do it. Season review. Talk about Jason Kelly. Talk about the staff. First of all, let's get this straight. Michael Early is not going anywhere. Um, that's not going to happen. We're not going to have a discussion about firing Early. That's not going to happen. He's going to be the coach next year. We can start with, I mean, Tag, do you want to go first? Like, what did you think of Early this year?
From where last year ended, the way it ended against Missouri, I believe that was the last series of the year, at least at home. I
Second to
know
last. Yeah.
at
Last home
home it
series.
was the
Yep.
last. So
I'm gonna go grab something. You keep talking.
Yeah, from the way of how last year ended to how this year like kind of progressed. Like there were everyone, or for the most part, when I opened Tech Sags, I talked to a lot of people up at the stadium. After the Vanderbilt first game, everyone was on board with firing early, at least from the people that we talked to. Um, and then he shut everyone up. He went on the run that he did, from Vanderbilt from Missouri. From Missouri on, this team was awesome. I mean, yeah, they had the Auburn series, and some of it, except for the first game, I thought they played really well. Except for the first game, except for like 5 innings of the first game, they played really well in that series. Played really well against Mississippi State, except for the one big inning that happened. And to be a regional host in year two of the early era here at A&M, that's all you can ask for, in my opinion. The trajectory is going up, at least, and yeah, do I think A&M should have been a top 8 national seed, barring everything that happened in Hoover? Yes. We saw what happened with Florida. We saw what happened with Southern Miss, who was ranked in front of you. We saw what happened in Tallahassee as well. But and it's just, like you said, it's the worst draw ever for A&M, because you would have had to, if you did hypothetically make it on forward and beat North Carolina, yeah, you'd play Auburn again. So you're facing the teams that have haunted you all year. And I know for a fact, I have full confidence early in the staff that they will make the adjustments next year of where they struggled this year. And I've been on the record saying next year's roster will be more balanced overall from the top down. They will be better than this year's team.
Yeah.
Now they won't have the stars like Caden, like Gavin and Chris, but they will be holistically better as a team next year. I fully believe in this freshman class is really good, barring the draft, and the transfer portal early's hit on some guys out of the portal. I'm not going to say every guy was a hit or a miss. Some of the guys were hits and they were really good for you. So I fully believe in Early, and if you think he should be fired, that's just crazy.
The only reason that anybody would say that Early deserves to be fired is as a emotional reaction to the regional. And the reason why you should not make a decision about your coach because of the regional, if your argument is Early lost in his own regional and he won the first 2 games and then he lost in his regional, he should be fired. Okay, if you want to go by that logic, then you know who else should fire their coach? UCLA. UCLA should fire John Savage. Georgia Tech should fire James Ramsey. That's not going to happen.
Florida should fire
Florida should fire O'Sullivan. That's actually kind of an interesting question.
Yeah,
but I mean, you know what I mean.
You should fire their guy, because that's back-to-back years, or not back-to-back years, but you know what I'm saying. Like the emotional, and I was talking about hitters out of the portal, but yes, I completely agree. Vargas was a bust, and one also thing that I wanted to touch on with early season, like, yeah, some of the losses were really bad at home. I get that. That should never happen. 11 or 13, what was it? 11 spot, whatever it was.
We'll talk. We'll get into that. I'll look it up.
So, I mean, I get it. I completely get it. And I was a Jason Kelly defender about 4 weeks ago. I was on here being like I had full faith in him. And then the 13 run inning, Auburn happens. All these games that are just like how do you explain it? In my opinion, I mean, the home losses perk your ears up. Yeah, the competition was really good at home this year. You got Texas at home. You got Vanderbilt, who was supposed to be really good at home. You got Georgia, who was really good at home, and you got Mississippi State, who's really good at home this year. So yeah, some of that is that, but you should never lose that bad. And then you get run out of the building twice this weekend. It felt like 7-1. It's kind of competitive in the scorebook, but it really felt like you got run out of the building.
Yeah. So let's go into this. So full season review. A&M was really good this year. They were elite offensively and they were bad on the mound. Looking back at last year, A&M couldn't hit the ball. They struggled offensively in every single category. and they were pretty good on the mound, and they were also really bad defensively. So Early went out and he said, "All right, how do we get better offensively and defensively?" Well, I'm going to bring in Cliff Pennington, and then Early he says, "I'm going to take over hitting again. I'm going to get back to what I'm good at." And look what happened. The offense was elite, and I know it wasn't what it should what you wanted it to be at the end of the year, but holistically it was elite. And defensively, you were a lot better. You were also a lot better on the base paths. I know you made some. There were a lot of issues this year, and I know there were some things that happened that were really frustrating. But compared to last year, you were a lot better. And so the issues from last year were fixed. The problem is that you regressed on the mound, and so that's going to be the conversation, and that starts with Jason Kelly. So let's have the Jason Kelly conversation. We're not gonna sit here and tell you whether he should be fired or not. We're gonna give you reasons. We're gonna give you pros and cons. I guess would be of that decision. B-
And
the
I want to say something now.
Yeah, go for it.
Now that we are eliminated, the decision has to happen in the next 48 hours because portal guys are going to be visiting campus. They're because the transfer portal opened yesterday morning. It's got to be made rather quickly. So that these conversations are going to be had. But yeah, that's what I was going to say is like the decision has to happen quick. Like it cannot linger out through the off season at all. But yeah, so we could start now. Like I wasn't super tapped in to last year or some of that, but like you said, Prager regressed, Lampkin regressed, and guess who's the common denominator? Who was here for that? Jason Kelly was here. This year, Shane Sadeo, even though he didn't pitch last year, he regressed from when the old regimen was here. And some of the guys that you wanted to develop, like a lot of these freshmen were really talented guys. Nobody's denying that. Some of the pitching staff from the freshman class was pretty good when they got to campus, but there was no progression throughout the year. And yeah, Sims took a huge jump. Sims did take a huge jump. But some of the other guys didn't. Like Moss kind of stayed the same. And it just didn't feel like you were competitive enough on the mound.
Yeah. The job of the pitching coach is to develop the pitchers that you have and to recruit pitchers. And let's talk about some of the pitchers that Jason Kelly and this staff brought in. You thought that Grant Cunningham could help you this year. Grant Cunningham did not help you win games this year. You thought that Juan Vargas could help you win games this year. Juan Vargas did not help you win games this year. Obviously, you thought Shane Sadeo could help you win games this year. He did not. Weston Moss had a lot of bright spots, but in a lot of games, it didn't go well. Obviously he pitched his ass off 2 nights ago, and he had an awesome outing against Auburn, and he did well against Vanderbilt. And I get all of that, but it was like this with Weston, right? Because you go back to A&M against Ole Miss, and Weston wasn't good. It's just been like this with Weston. And so, the pitching staff was good at responding after a bad night, but there were too many bad nights. You were good at throwing strikes, that's important, right? Okay, you threw strikes. That's good. You didn't walk a lot of guys, but the strikes that you threw got hit over the wall. A&M finished worst in the conference in home runs given up. I'm actually going to pull up all of the conference stats right now so we can go over that. The point is you're Texas A&M. You have more resources than anybody could dream of. And with those resources, this is the pitching staff that you threw together. And it's embarrassing. It's not good enough. The one thing that you can say in defense of the pitching this year is this. You lost Caden McCoy in the preseason, who was going to be one of your weekend starters, which means you have to move a reliever into a starting role. that they weren't meant to have. That was Weston Moss. So that's -1 starter, -1 bullpen arm. Then Josh Stewart, who's very experienced and who is going to be supposed to be one of your best relievers this year. He's done for the year after an injury in the first conference game. Then you lose Aiden Sims for the rest of the year. Basically, even though it wasn't confirmed, you lost Aiden Sims for the rest of the year before the Mississippi State series. And so that's really tough. That is a really, really tough ask for your pitching staff. And so, you could make the argument that, hey, if McCoy was here and if Aiden was healthy all season and if you had Josh Stewart, the pitching staff would have been good. Maybe not great, but they didn't need to be great because the offense was so good. But you can still point to all the guys that Jason Kelly and the staff brought in and developed and how it didn't work out, right? Like Tag said, going back to last year with Prager and Lampkin and a lot of those guys regressing. And then this year with guys like Juan Vargas and Shane Sadeo and Grant Cunningham and just, Ethan Darden, again, had a couple bright moments, but overall, was not consistent. And so, yeah, I mean, it's very clear, like, without a couple of guys like Aiden Sims and, Caden McCoy and Josh Stewart, you did not have an SEC caliber pitching staff this year.
No.
And, I mean, he really unlucky with injuries, but I mean, you still need other guys to be able to help you, and you didn't have that at all.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it felt like other teams around the country that got hit with the injury bug on the mound, and at worst conferences were rolling out better arms. So that it's not just we got hurt. It was a holistic problem to begin with, and I'm pretty positive that Early was asked pre or when McCoy got hurt, like, how is the staff going to be together now? Like, how is this pitching staff going to be? He's like, oh, we got enough guys to go where we want to go, or something around the gist of that. I'm not going to put words in Early's mouth, but I believe the gist of that quote was relatively similar. And it couldn't be further from the truth, honestly, if we're going to be blatant about it.
Yeah. So let's go through this here. So A&M's pitching staff finished 11th in the conference. Well, I mean, other teams aren't done playing, but as of right now, A&M finishes 11th in the conference in ERA. Team ERA was 5.21 this year. They finished, they finished 9th for WHIP, which was at 1.4. Hits allowed, A&M finished 14th out of 16 in the conference with 509 hits allowed. The best team was, just to give you an idea, Texas finished number 1 in hits allowed. They allowed 402 hits so far this year. A&M has allowed 509 hits. Texas will finish the season at probably playing, maybe if they win their super regional and get to Omaha, Texas is going to finish the season having played way more games than A&M, giving up less hits than A&M did. Mm-hmm. So you were 14th out of 16 in hits allowed. A&M, this is the really interesting part. A&M was 7th in the conference in total runs allowed this year, which is not awful. That's not bad. Mm-hmm. Earned runs, A&M was also 7th. And so that highlights the inconsistency, I think, right? Yeah. Like, you look at the pitching performance at LSU and at Florida and against Vanderbilt in games 2 and 3, and even against Texas, and especially in game 2, like, they had a lot of highlights. They had a lot of really, really bright moments. Mm-hmm. But then you had game 1 against Mississippi State, game 1 against Auburn, game 1 against USC, and just games 1 and 2 against Georgia. Mm-hmm. All of the games against Oklahoma. Too much inconsistency. UCLA. Yep. Hey, A&M finished number 1 in walks allowed in the conference at 152, which that's Jason Kelly's, goal. That's his mentality, throw strikes. And they did that. The strikes got hit over the wall is the problem. Another interesting one, A&M finished second to last in the conference, 15th in strikeouts. And this highlights what I talked about with Tag was, like, let's talk about this for a second. Why is A&M second to last in the conference in strikeouts as a pitching staff?
Because they don't throw hard enough and they don't have good enough off speed to compete at the highest level.
Yeah, I mean that's as simple as it's very, very simple. It sucks. Like, they have a ceiling. I've gone on this rant 3 times now. Okay, look at LSU. Look at LSU, and not just LSU, but just take LSU for example. LSU did not make the tournament. They were bad this year. Their team ERA was worse than A&M's this year, and I get that. But every single guy that LSU rolled out of the bullpen, just in troves, just over and over and over again, all these guys LSU rolls out of the bullpen can throw 97 miles an hour, and they can throw three, four, or five different pitches for strikes. And you look at A&M, and you don't have that. Only a couple guys can throw 94, 95. Most of your bullpen arms can throw around 90 or 92. And don't have very great breaking pitches or don't have enough pitches to throw for strikes. And so a lot of teams sit there and foul off pitches. So many barrels, just so many balls hit really hard at A&M defenders this year because your pitchers don't have swing and miss stuff. They just don't. And that's the ceiling. That's a problem, is that the coach, Jason Kelly, and the coaching staff looked at all of these pitchers before the season and said, this is good enough, right? This is our staff that we put together. And they weren't able to strike anybody out. So yeah, I mean, not good enough. Ole Miss finished number 1 in the SEC in strikeouts. Just to put this into perspective, Ole Miss struck out 672 batters so far this year. A&M struck out 490. That's a lot less. That's bad. That's not good.
Yeah.
Next category, A&M finished second to last, actually, right now, second to last in the conference in home runs given up. In 89, Arkansas 16th with 90 allowed. You also have to keep in mind, though, A&M has played a lot less games than some of these other teams. They've had 2 or 3 games canceled this year, and so A&M has played less games. They have 1 less conference game than everybody else, aside for Texas, because that game 3 didn't get played. But yeah, this goes along with the strikeouts. Your pitches are too easy to hit, like in simple terms. They're too easy for SEC batters to hit, and that was a problem all year. Hit by pitch, I mean, who cares? But A&M was pretty good, 6th, and didn't hit a lot of batters. A&M was number 1 in the conference in wild pitches on the year, so didn't throw a lot of wild pitches. This is a crazy stat. Are you ready for this? A&M threw 18 wild pitches this year. LSU's thrown 90. That's a crazy stat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I just wanted to, if you look at the teams that advanced in the SEC, like Oklahoma, every guy they roll out there is throwing really hard too. Even just from the game 7 I watched today against Georgia Tech, like they struck out hitters because they throw harder than A&M did on the mound this year. And you lost to Oklahoma, and they weren't very good this year.
Yeah,
because of how good their bullpen was, and more specifically their closer, who shut you down in their wins. And it's like it perks your ears up because A&M has more resources than Oklahoma for baseball. A&M has more resources than some of these programs, and their pitching was better. Now their offense wasn't as good as yours, but your pitching was significantly worse than those teams that we just listed. And even like Ole Miss strikes out a lot of hitters, and yeah, that's probably why they advanced in that regional. But it adds up. Like the teams that can pitch right now and then get hot offensively, they will advance. That's usually how it works around this time. Mm-hmm. And yeah, A&M's offense was really good, but it wasn't good enough this weekend. They played. I said this to you in the stadium. Like A&M's offense was not good for 3/4 of this regional, which is not good enough. They had to come from behind from a 5-0 deficit to Lamar in the 5th inning. Like just let that.
And look at what USC did to Lamar, by the way, after that game. Mm-hmm. I think the general thing here, and this is another thing. Like look at US. You were talking about Oklahoma. Oklahoma's head coach is Skip Johnson, who has coached a lot of baseball. He's been around for a really long time. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, really good coaches can make something work with what they have. Mm-hmm. What's his face? Tim Corbin at Vanderbilt, tried to do that this year. Jay Johnson tried to do that this year. Like they can find ways to make things work with what they have. And that's what's happening with Oklahoma right now. They beat the number 2 seed, Georgia Tech, and they're going to the Supers with a roster that's probably worth a quarter of what A&M's roster is worth. and they did it because they're coaching. Their coaches are better. I mean, that's it's hard to hear. It sucks, but like their coaches are better than yours. That's why they're
Mhm.
getting further than you are right now with a less costly roster.
Mhm.
Look at USC. USC's head coach is a really, really good head coach. He's seen a lot of baseball too. You know what he did this weekend? He outcoached early to death all weekend. And he outcoached Texas State. He outcoached or
Lamar.
Lamar. I mean, yeah. I mean, just that's what great coaches do. They find a way to win, and they find a way to make
Mhm.
something work and
Yeah,
beat the opponent with what they have.
yeah.
And
I just
yeah,
wanted to add, like adding on to that, like USC loses to Texas State first using their Saturday guy, and then they have to go and play them again, and they don't use their Sunday starter. They use a freshman midweek starter who throws really hard. And he was very effective against Texas State. And so by them doing that, they saved their Sunday starter to have the outing he did Sunday. And he just coached circles around the whole regional. And there's a reason why they advanced. Their pitching was just that good. After the closer gave up the blown save against Texas State, they were pitching really well the whole weekend. And if you look at, yeah, they gave up 6 runs to Lamar in the elimination game, but they were already up by that much where they could have used guys that they didn't. They're not high leverage arms to get through the rest of the game. Um, so it was just, I mean, he's a really good coach, and that really showed this weekend.
yeah. Um, A&M in general this season. I feel like we're just ranting on random tangents here, but that's what it's going to be because it's after the game, after the loss, kind of emotional. We're just going to go on random tangents about things. But A&M this season, when you look at the season as a whole, I think you said this at the beginning, they just kind of peaked too early.
Mm-hmm.
Look, if you look at A&M's 2024 team, that was the perfect model of what you want for just momentum in a team. They blew through a lot of the SEC to get into a position to host the Super. We were almost certain A&M was hosting a Super, like a little halfway through SEC play. That's how sure we were. That's how I mean. They came into the conference and put their foot down and said, "I'm hosting a Super." That's what that 2024 team did. Then they kind of dipped towards the end of SEC play. They lost at LSU. They lost at Ole Miss. And then they took that final series against Arkansas. And then they went 0-2 in Hoover. And, we kind of said, uh-oh, like the team offensively didn't look great, had some concerning pitching performances. And then they open up the regional. They beat the 4 seed. And the offense still wasn't great throughout that 2024 regional. You won a game against Texas where you only had like one
Mm-hmm.
RBI.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean your offense wasn't great. And then A&M's offense kind of picked up in that Super against Oregon, and then they rode that momentum to Omaha. If you look at this 2026 team, this team peaked after you beat Texas. You beat Texas and you did it pretty handily. And then after that, you went to LSU and you swept LSU in the box, which was maybe A&M's most impressive thing they've done this year. Still, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I know what LSU's like, but and then you went and beat Florida, who's I know that they lost. They're a top 8 national seed. You beat Florida in Gainesville, and then that was your peak. And then you came home and got waxed by Auburn. Then you lost at Ole Miss. You found a way to beat Mississippi State, but I mean, your offense was somewhat inconsistent towards the end of the year, and you just peaked. You peaked at
Yeah.
Florida. You peaked at the wrong time, and they just never found that momentum
Mm-hmm.
again. And that'll be, we can talk about why that might be, but that'll be a conversation for the coaching staff, you know, in the off
Mm-hmm.
season.
Yeah, I agree with what like that was my heart to heart was when Auburn happened, and then I was like the Ole Miss series was crucial. Um, you couldn't get swept, you didn't get swept, um, and kind of all of it was like, will they host a Super? And you get to Mississippi State, you win the series, and everyone thinks you're a super host, the nationals, top 8 national seed. Literally, all the tweets were A&M punched their ticket um, to being a top 8 national seed, and then you lose the way you did in Hoover. That just counteract all the work you've done up to that point. The
Yeah.
way because it was like, yeah, you'd faced Auburn, you got waxed in that series, And then you come back and play them again. Oh, maybe these guys are motivated to beat them. You just beat Mississippi State, very emotional game. Let's see what they can do to try to win this tournament. And they go out there and they look the way they did, and it literally looked like they just didn't care, for lack of a better word. They just didn't care in that game because they knew that. Like we hear Bear gets interviewed after the game. We're a top 8 national seed. Early gets interviewed. We're a top 8 national seed. We get the selection Monday, and we're getting to 10. We're getting to 10, and we're like, oh, this is where A&M will be 10. Everyone's projecting them 10 because they lost. After you see Florida, you're like, oh, okay, we're 10. And then you see 10 and it's FSU. And it's really like, well, why did we get told we were a top 8 national seed? And then, and then you pop up on ours, the College Station Regional, and you see USC at 2. And I was like, well, yeah, that might be it. That's literally what's going to hold us out. And we talked about it. A&M was more vulnerable to lose a regional than a super, and it happened.
Yeah, I love that. That was good. The next thing I wanted to talk about, going back to last year, A&M lost a lot of games to not good teams, like those quad 3 losses, quad 4 losses to some Tuesday opponents that were not good. This year, A&M finishes 11-15 in quad 1 games, 9-0 in quad 2 games, 5-1 in quad 3 games, and 16-0 in quad 4 games. 11-15 in quad 1, that's what held you back from being a top 8 national seed. You look at some other teams, UCLA 11-1 in quad 1, Georgia Tech was 23-7, Texas was 16-19, Auburn went 18-18. Like a lot of these teams around the conference had more quad 1 wins than you. And if you look at A&M season as a whole, their most impressive series win was against Texas, the number 2 team in the country. And you lost to Oklahoma to start the year, who is a great team. Obviously, they're going to the Supers. They were in the top 25 for most of the year. You lost to Oklahoma. You were not even competitive to win the series against Georgia. You lost to Auburn, who's one of the best teams in college baseball. You lost to Ole Miss. Like and then you weren't even competitive against UCLA. And so to me, like, it's kind of an interesting discussion is like when you ask how good A&M really was this year, going through those series wins. Okay. You beat Missouri. You beat Vanderbilt. Obviously you beat Texas, but again, that was in a super regional like atmosphere. And there were a lot of narratives and storylines affecting that game. And I think the crowd had a lot to do with that, especially in that first game.
Mm-hmm.
And, there was a really strange, obviously, the weather delay in the second game, and you blew up Luke Harrison for Texas in game 2, and all of your runs were scored in that first inning. And it was just a really strange inning that kind of got away from Texas. And maybe if the weather delay doesn't happen or whatever, that first inning goes differently. It's just A&M didn't really beat a lot of elite teams this year. They played plenty of them. They just didn't beat elite teams this year. So A&M was good. They just weren't an elite team this year. Which is still a step in the right direction, but
Yeah.
they had 15 quad 1 losses. You didn't beat a lot of great teams this year.
Yeah, and like you said, like the stepping stone is the embarrassing, like unranked losses. You didn't see much of those this year. So that's a huge step in the right direction. Now it's how can we and a lot of these quad 1 losses, like for except UCLA, except Auburn first game, except for Mississippi State first game, like your losses were relatively close. Like Ole Miss was close in both the games you lost to Ole Miss. That was close. Florida wasn't close, but you hang the white flag. Oklahoma you lost close in both games. Georgia, well, no, actually, now that I think about it, your losses were kind of.
I'm pulling up the schedule.
Yeah, your losses weren't actually kind of close, which a lot of them you were kind of waving in the white flag by the sixth inning. Like Georgia 9-2, Georgia 9-4. That's not close. Florida 9-2, not close. But at some point, like the beginning of the series, like if you lose the beginning of the series, like yeah, you still got stuff to play for. but I mean, some of the losses are just inexcusable. But you didn't lose. The only series that you could be like, yeah, you lost was Oklahoma, but everyone thought Oklahoma was going to host at the beginning of the year because of how dominant they were in non-conference. Um, and they just looked really good. And now, come to find out, they actually are good. So I mean, a lot of it was last year was like the bad losses. You lose to Cal Poly, you lose to, or the non-con losses, the Texas State loss, all these losses that are really inexcusable. They didn't happen this year. You lost to Texas State and you lost to UCLA in non-conference, and it was a very good UCLA team when you played them, and it was a very good Texas State team that made it in your own regional. That was a very solid team. Yeah, the score didn't show 17-2, but they were really solid all year. And so it's a step in the right direction. Now, can Early and the staff finish these games that were
Mhm.
close in quad one games? And they're going to make like this off season in this portal class is huge for Early for the timeline of Michael Early as the head coach here.
Yeah, there's a couple other things too that I'm looking at. In general, like you weren't great in close games this year.
No.
Which you have to be in the you have to be able to do that. A couple things need to happen for you to win a national championship in college baseball. You need to be able to win games in different ways is the big thing. You have to have and to do that, you have to be able to win games offensively, and you have to be able to win games with pitching. And we said this a billion times. A&M has to win a very, very specific kind of game. They have to win by scoring runs. The team is led by the offense. The pitching staff cannot win them a game if they only score 4 or 5 runs for the most part. And in some of these games, even when A&M scored enough runs, the pitching staff wasn't able to hold it together. And these were close games. Like starts at Oklahoma. A&M goes up 4-0 in the first inning. They go on to lose the game 8-7. 7 runs with a good pitching staff should be enough to win you a game.
Mhm.
Game 3 against and look, it shows, right? Like second game against Oklahoma, you win 9-5. But then the third game you lose 12-11. 11 runs is plenty, more than enough to win a conference game, and your pitching staff just couldn't get you there. Obviously, the offense was not good in games 1 and 2 against Georgia. Going to Missouri, you win the first game 11-9, the second game 14-6, third game 14-3. That's great. Game 1 against Vanderbilt, you score 8 runs at home. That should be good enough. Psych, you got run out of the building. People were leaving halfway through the game because Vanderbilt beat you 14-8. And then against Texas, game 1, that was your to me your most impressive game win of the year because you had to come from behind. Texas scored first.
Mhm.
That was a close game that you won, and your pitching staff saved you at the end. Clayton Freshcorn saved you. You won that game 9-8. The LSU's interestingly, so LSU game 3, you won 5-2. You only scored 5 runs, but you were able to win the game. This is around when we thought the pitching staff was turning a corner. And then you go to Florida and you win game 2 8-4, and game 3 5-1, and you say, okay, we held Florida to 4 runs and then 1 run. Like, I think this pitching staff is really turning a corner. We get to play Auburn at home. Auburn puts up 18 runs in game 1. And then of course you lose a really close game against Auburn in game 2. You lose games 1 and 2 to Ole Miss really close. And yeah, that was the season. This is also interesting from Noble Guy here. A lot of these losses were totally uncompetitive, and this is something Tag and I talked about last night. We'll go through the schedule now that the season is over. We're going to count the amount of times A&M has been blown out at home. Starting with, I would consider the Georgia, both of the 2
Yep.
Georgia games as blown out. A&M scored 1 or 2 garbage runs in like the 9th inning. So Georgia jumped on you early, and you were in a big hole in games 1 and 2 against Georgia. People are leaving halfway through the game. The crowd is out of the game very early. You get blown out. Game 1 against Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt hits 2 home runs in the first inning. They totally run away with it halfway through the game, and your pitching staff is just god awful, just totally implodes throughout that game. That's 3 games so far through 4 SEC series, 2 at home where you've been run out of the building. That's so 2 series. So that's in the first 4 series of conference series of the year. Your first 2 home series, you got run out of the building in 3 of those 6 games. That's half of your games in your first 2 home series. You got run out of the building. You beat Texas, LSU, Florida. You go on the road. Game 1 against Auburn, 18-5. They just pissed on you all game. 18 runs is ridiculous to give up at home. Game 1 against Mississippi State, you lose 18-11. That's 5. And then games 2 and 3 against USC. 7 games this year where you got run out of your own building, where the game was over halfway early, either early or halfway through the game, it was over. And that's going to be and then, A&M had a lot of good home wins and a lot of big wins too. Just the margin of victory for A&M was really high. When they won by a lot. And when they lost, it was either really close or a ton. And it's confusing. It's really confusing. It's really, really frustrating to lose by that much, so much. And it's, at A&M in front of your home crowd with all of your resources and your fan base, you just cannot get blown out at home. And it happened 7 times this year. So, I mean, why is that? What happened? Like, how does A&M get blown out 7 times at home this year? What's the common pattern?
The home runs given up at a very hitter friendly park. But it's not like necessarily like giving up the home runs. That's the problem. It's giving them up early and often. Like you give up. I think Braden Holcomb in game 1 against us, the Vanderbilt third baseman or whatever he plays, hit 3 home runs in his first 3 at bats against us.
Just stupid number. I mean,
I mean, you've seen this. This has been the problem all year. It's like the best players against you do damage, and it's early. It starts in the first inning, and it continues. It's almost like it's a mental block of when this team's was at home, and they're up there on the field first, and then bam, you're down 2-0, you're down 3-0, you're even down 4-0 in some of the games pretty early, and then you get to Auburn scores 7 in the second inning. Mississippi State scores 11 in 11, or was it 13? Scored 13 in the third inning.
Yep.
Against you, and it's just inexplicable. And then for this offense, it's like, oh, I've got to dig they're in such a hole that they're trying to do too much. Like, I've got to make this up in one swing. Speaking of that, you did that. That happened at the very beginning of the year when you were in Dallas, when UCLA scores 4 runs in the second inning off Weston Moss, and they just continued to barrel up baseballs. And that's the trend in all this. They're not the teams that are blowing you out aren't dinking and dunking against you. Yeah, Auburn dink and dunked, but a lot of them were hit hard too. So
yeah. Noble guy, so I'm going to get into this. When we won, we were entirely dependent on our offense ambushing average to weak pitching. When we went against frontline pitching, we were held in check. For the most part, yes, but obviously you point to the Texas series. You scored 9 runs in the first game against Ruger Riojas, and then I don't remember who pitched for them out of the pen. It doesn't matter. All those guys are really good.
Mm-hmm.
You scored 9 runs against Max Wiener's pitching staff in game 1, and you put up 8 against Luke Harrison in the first inning in game 2. You put up 20 runs against Texas in 2 games. I don't think Texas in any series this year has given up 20 runs in all 3 games. I'm pretty sure that's correct. I know at the time that A&M had played Texas had not given up more than 20 runs in a 3-game series, and A&M put that up in 2 games. Mm-hmm. You look at again, it'll get overshadowed, but look at what A&M did to Tomas Valinkis for Mississippi State in game 1 there. He's one of the frontline starters in the conference, in the country too. He leads the conference in strikeouts. He's really, really, really good, and A&M shelled him
Mhm.
in game one. But obviously the pitching gave up 18 runs, and so didn't matter. Um,
And then you go to
here's
Florida. You go to
Florida,
Florida and you
yeah,
beat Liam Peterson, going to
Liam
be a first
Peterson.
round pick in this draft. Yeah, you lost to Aiden King, who's really good and was the pitcher of the year. But you beat Liam Peterson, and all those guys out of the pen are really good too. Um, so there are, and yeah, LSU was not good. Case and Evans, really good starter. Cooper Williams or whoever it
I
was,
don't
really
remember.
good starter um, for them. But yeah, I mean, so yeah, but and the losses like, and even you had Joey Volchko out of the game in the second inning when you played Georgia in game
Yep,
one, and you got blown out.
you were good at chasing starters all year.
Yes, all year except for in Hoover, and except for this past weekend.
Yeah, and here's my point I want to make, Noble Guy. Like, yes, it would be nice for the offense to get off to better starts in some of these games because in a lot of these games against frontline pitching, it's taken them a couple innings to get going. And obviously, they were not good this last weekend in this regional for the most part. But here's what I want to put into perspective: with the exact same offensive output A&M had in most of these games, if you have a good pitching staff, let's start with Oklahoma. You sweep Oklahoma in OU at OU with a good pitching staff. 7 runs, 9 runs, and 11 runs with a good pitching staff. You sweep Oklahoma to start the year. You're already 3-0 in conference play. You still lose to Georgia because you didn't score enough runs. Game one against Vanderbilt, yeah, you probably sweep Vanderbilt. I mean, 8 runs is good enough if you have a good pitching staff. You beat Texas, obviously. Florida, yes, yes, yes. Ole Miss, you didn't score enough. But my point is when A&M was this close to hosting a super and they just needed one more conference win, you had it. You would have swept Oklahoma with good pitching, and you would have taken that game against Vanderbilt. You would have swept Mississippi State with good pitching.
Yeah.
Um, A&M would have been north of 23, 24 conference wins with good pitching this year.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you look at, like, I think it's unfair because in a lot of these games, you look at the opposing team and they'll get off to such a great start offensively against A&M's pitching. And you say, I wish our offense could do that. I wish we could get off to better starts. You can't. Like, the arms you face are too good. The reason other teams get off to good starts against A&M is because A&M's pitching is not good.
Mm-hmm.
That's as simple as it can be put. So if you have a good pitching staff, you don't get blown out at home as much. And again, even look at Auburn. Like, I know how crazy this sounds. If you have a really good pitching staff, you could have won the first game against Auburn because Auburn hadn't scored a lot of runs all year. I mean, you scored 5 in the first game, which is not great, but there is a world with a really good pitching staff where you win that game, scoring
Mm-hmm.
5 runs. So, I mean, it's hard to talk like that because we lost those games, but A&M won a lot of games in 2024 where they scored 5 or 6 runs um,
Mm-hmm.
because they had a really good pitching staff. And so
Yeah.
that absolutely has to be the priority in the offseason. So,
Yeah, and I
yeah,
remember being in the stands for game one against Georgia in 2024, which Georgia was the best offense in the country in 2024. Coming into Olson, which is known as the hitter friendly environment. And it's like a 4-3 final. A&M wins. Like they won games like that. And there was a reason why that team was so good. It's because they won in so many facets. And this year, this team didn't do that.
yeah.
And now we can get into before we head off. How do we fix, or where does this team go from now? So where it starts with in the next 2 days coming to a decision with what you do with your pitching coach. That's where it starts. It starts there. If you do fire him, who do you go get? You try to buy out Nate Yeski, try to buy out Georgia Tech's pitching coach, or or you go to the professional level and you try to find someone that hadn't been working out there that you now bring here. In my opinion, everyone brings up Rob. I just don't. I don't see it. I would love to have Rob back. I don't see it.
Yeah. I think we could do a discussion after the decision is made. If Jason Kelly is fired, we could do a video. We could do a discussion about potential candidates and our
Yeah.
thoughts and guys that transfer or whatever. But so I guess we could talk more about what we think should be done without really saying.
Yeah.
I mean, we can't sit on here and say fire Jason Kelly. Like
No.
we're supporting and covering the team. We can
No.
talk about what he's done well and what he's done poorly. But here's what I'd say: if you're a commit that's committed to A&M to pitch, or if you're on the staff right now, do you want to pitch here because of Jason Kelly, or do you want to pitch here because it's A&M and you love A&M and you want to come play at A&M?
Mhm.
Because I hate to say it, but if you were looking at purely a pitching coach standpoint, you want to go pitch at Texas with Max Weiner. That's where you want to go, right? So you have to ask, like, what is the appeal to come here and pitch for Jason
Mhm.
Kelly, especially after this year, and how he I mean, who Aiden Sims and Clayton Freshcorn have developed tremendously. We know that. Everybody else, no. And going back to
Mhm.
2024, Weston Moss developed in 2024, and some other guys did too. I get that, but overall, most of the guys got worse, and guys that you brought here that you thought could help you did not help you. So there is not much of an appeal to want to come pitch for Jason Kelly. And, I think that I mean, I can't say it word for word, but I think you can tell where my head leans on Jason
Mhm.
Kelly.
Yeah.
It's just, I mean, it just hurts. Like you lost the reason, the rant I went on before, the reason you've gotten blown out so much at home is because your pitching staff has not kept you in games. And it's not even been a couple of bad times. Like Dylan said, you lost 8 total games at home and 7 of them were blowouts. You did not lose. If we were losing close, like 5-6, 8-7 games at home, we could talk about why A&M can't win close games. 7 of these losses are blowouts where you have given up a crap ton of runs and you just weren't competitive.
Yeah.
Um, yeah,
And so if that's the number that adds up, A&M went 6-8 at home this year in conference play. 6-8 because you didn't get the third game against Texas. So A&M went 6-8, and they got blown out in 7 of them. It's just not acceptable. It's not good enough. And the talk I want to go on is what needs to be done for next year's roster right now. Who's going to be gone next year? That are out of eligibility or draft. I'm not saying portal guys leaving. I don't know. We don't know any of that.
yeah.
You have to replace Gavin. You would assume everyone would assume Gavin played his last game as an Aggie. You would assume Caden played his last game as an Aggie, and you would assume Chris played his last game as an Aggie. That's your draft eligible juniors that I believe. And then you have to replace Dewar out of eligibility. You have to place Royo. That's a NCAA challenge on eligibility, possibly. And Chestnut, and then all the other seniors you got to replace. Now, do you keep? Now the question is, the draft eligible juniors that I don't know are going to go. You got Fresh Corn, and you have Weston Moss. Now, do I think they will be retained? Absolutely. I think they want to be here. I truly believe that. Um, so what I'm trying to say is you've got to replace a lot of offense. Now, whether that's from within, whether that's guys that are coming, that are freshmen coming in, or whether that's the portal. I'm not going to give any names because I don't know any names right now. The portal just opened. But you got to replace some hitters and some key ones too. And then you've got to add some bullpen arms too. Like Grant Cunningham is out of eligibility. And some of the guys out there, you got to replace Sadeo. Some of the guys out there are out of eligibility. So you will see multiple arms added via the portal. You will see multiple bats added via the portal. It's just will they hit on them?
And that discussion changes too based on whether Jason Kelly's retained or not.
Correct.
Because if you have to get rid of Jason Kelly, you're starting over on the pitching side. I mean, I would assume a lot of those guys would want to stay. They would enter the portal and probably wait till A&M finds a pitching coach and then make a decision. But I would assume, somebody like Aiden Sims wants to play here next year. Like, absolutely, I believe that.
Mhm.
It just depends on for who. I would ask, well, if Jason Kelly, if the decision is, he's asked this twice now, but
Yeah.
if the decision in the next couple of days is that Jason Kelly will be retained, what is your reaction? Would that surprise you? I guess.
No, because of some of the guys that you will retain next year if you keep him. Like I feel very confident if he's back, you will for sure retain Aiden Sims. You will for sure retain. I don't know for sure, not for these guys, but I for sure believe Aiden Sims will return, and probably Caden McCoy will return. And then I believe that Moss and Freshcorn will return. If he's let go, I personally believe if you don't have to start over, that's best case scenario. But if these guys don't
Yeah.
improve, then it starts to be then it's a problem.
It would not. I've said this for weeks. It would not surprise me if Jason Kelly is retained. And the conversation and the reasoning behind that would be, what are you supposed to do when you don't have two of your planned starting pitchers? One of them for the entire year, one of your best bullpen arms is hurt, and then you lose Aiden Sims for the postseason and for your final series. What are you supposed to do?
Yeah,
I mean, it's tough. Like, maybe, yes, maybe Juan Vargas and Grant Cunningham, they would still not be able to help you. But if you had Caden McCoy starting on Friday night and then you go to Aiden Sims or, whatever the original plan was, um, if that original plan is put into place, Shane Sadeo would probably have still been a problem. I'm not saying that, but if Caden McCoy started on Friday nights and then you went to Aiden Sims on Saturdays, um, maybe you lose some of those Sunday games with Shane Sadeo, but you probably win more. You're not 3-7 in conference openers, And if you have Josh Stewart to go to in the pen, if you had Aiden Sims in this regional, like, we just don't know. I mean,
yeah,
it was a big defense for Early last year too, right? Not just that he was a first year head coach, but that
mhm,
Caden Sorrell was hurt for basically half the season. You didn't have Grahovac. Chase Laviolette was hurt at the end of the year. Like, your lineup was just constantly changing with so many injuries. Just, that was a big defense for Early, and there's no reason that the same defense would not be used for Jason Kelly. He just didn't have a fair chance with healthy guys. So it wouldn't surprise me
yeah,
at all. Um, yeah, I mean, that's the conversation. Is like, we don't know what the team would have
yeah,
looked like if they didn't get so unlucky. But the other thing to ask is, like, why did you have so many injuries?
yeah,
Why did they get hurt? You go look at I mean, I'm not saying anything about firing some strength and conditioning coach, but I remember, to take a little tangent to A&M football, like in the Jimbo era, just like so many injuries to so many different guys. And then you bring Tommy Moffitt in with Elko, and strength and conditioning program is like a new creation. And you have to ask the question, like, why are freaking 3 or 4 of our most important pitchers injured right now? How does that
yeah.
happen? Did we just get unlucky, or are they not properly conditioned? I mean, I don't know, but it's just,
It's
it's a
not a big enough
they
sample. It's just
you
not
need,
yet.
exactly, you need a bigger sample size, but it is
That's
a
why
question to
I'm
ask.
not going to be surprised if he's held on. If he is held on, this portal class is huge. This portal class
Yeah,
is huge. Because if you retain Caden McCoy and you keep Sims and you have fresh corn and that's your starting rotation next year, that's really good. That's
yeah,
really good. That's up there with Texas's rotation for next year. Um, so, in my opinion, but then it's like then you get in the murky waters. Weston Moss moves into the closer role, or you keep. I don't know. Like, or do you move McCoy coming off injury and keep him in the bullpen as a closer because you just ran into that problem with Shane coming off Tommy John. Um, you know what I'm saying.
yeah,
So, and you've got to have some higher leverage arms come out of the pen, and you'll see them address this issue if he's still here, and you'll see him address the issue if he's not here. Like they knew the problem this year was they weren't good enough on the mound. They know that. Now, is it because it was unlucky with injury, or is it a personnel problem?
both. I mean, it's
Yeah,
just
I
both. I
agree.
mean, Yeah, it's also if you fire him, like, are we really gonna believe that all of these pitchers are gonna go run wherever Jason Kelly goes or something like that? Like, I just don't. That doesn't. The point I'm trying to make, which is a part of this, I think it's a big clue as to Jason Kelly's role on this staff, is how many pitchers are really here for Jason Kelly, or do they want to play at A&M? They want to play for
Mhm.
early,
Yeah.
and they would happily pitch for a different pitching coach. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, I understand that.
and it's like for hitters, it's like, yeah, you want to play at A&M, but you want to come hit for early because he has the draft guys to show that he knows what he's doing when it comes to teaching batters how to hit the damn ball. And you just like don't have that, I feel, with Kelly. And so
Mm-mm.
that's another conversation. I think overall, to close out, I would not be surprised either way. Whatever happens with Kelly
Yeah.
would not surprise me. And we'll do a whole. Dylan, I feel you. Um, if JK stays, you'll lose. Fans will be pissed. Fans were pissed when Early was retained last year. Fans are emotional, and I get all of that. Like, I get it. Those people care. A&M has the most passionate fans and donors in the sport. In sports. I get it. But you know
Mhm.
what happened to the conversation around Early? Like, people were, "Hey, we can't hit last year. We can't hit. Early's fallen off." And we hit all year, and that conversation got quiet, right?
Mhm.
And so if you retain Kelly and you pitch well next year, that conversation goes away.
Yep.
Um, I mean, do you want to, just not to say if we think, but do you think that Jason Kelly will be the pitching coach next year? I mean, if you
So
had to guess based on what you
so
know.
what so based off what I know his contract expired. So it's not firing him. It's just you don't keep him next year. I think he stays. It's just a
I've
gut
I've
feeling.
I have the same gut feeling. Um,
Because
again,
this portal class is so big and the portal's already open. Like you need to be ahead of the game. Like if
yeah,
A&M did not make the postseason and he was fired or he was let go, like yeah, then none of this matters. But the portal's already open. You know what I mean? The portal's already open. Guys are in, um, and you need someone that to be there as that role of I'm coming to pitch for Jason Kelly. I'm coming to pitch um, for A&M. Like you need someone there currently. That's why I think he'll stay.
and look at last year. Jason Kelly was not a problem last year. Nobody was talking about that. The pitching was a big bright spot on the team for the most part. Um, I mean, yeah, Dylan, I think it's totally
Yeah.
reasonable if you keep him for the next year with the portal
Yeah.
class and with a healthy roster and see what happens. And then if guys continue to regress, you can get rid of him. That's fine with me. But I mean, also it depends on. It's not just about, like, it's not it's not a video game where you can just fire and then pick whoever you want. You have to really look at who you could get if you fire Jason Kelly,
Mhm.
who's available, and would they be better, or is it better to wait, instead of just firing him and then, well, like, if you can't just, a lot of fans and a lot of people love to complain and call for somebody's job and call for somebody to be fired, but they don't have a solution, right? A
Yeah.
lot, tens of thousands of Aggies right now are screaming for Jason Kelly to be fired. But then if you ask them who we should hire in his place, and if it's worth losing the portal class, they sit there in silence without an answer. So it's a part of the conversation to ask who you would hire if you fire Jason Kelly. And if there's nobody good enough right now that you feel like you could get, then you have to keep him. It would be stupid to, you can't just fire him and then, "Well, we'll find somebody after." It's not like that.
No.
You have to have that full plan, and that plan is, whatever that decision is going to be. It's happening right now as we speak. They're thinking about it and they're talking about it. And so I don't know. I think Tag and I are on the same page. We both think
Yeah.
he's going to be retained.
Yeah. Because exit meetings start tomorrow. Exit meetings start tomorrow. So like we'll get a general gist of hopefully we get updates on what's going on. Um, so yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be shocked either way, like you just said. Um, but is it worth possibly not when you're going to portal guys, recruiting portal guys, not having a pitching coach to be there to sell on these guys? I don't know. I don't know if it is. We'll see what happens, and you can only move forward with what happens. Like if Kelly gets a 1 year deal, prove it deal, he's got to prove it. And he'll
Mhm.
and majority of these guys will come into next year healthy. Like Sims, yeah, he'll have the surgery and he'll be expected back in fall. Like McCoy's already had surgery. He'll be back kind of. I don't know when the timeline was, but he'll be throwing in late or the winter probably, or
Mhm.
maybe even early or late fall. So like you'll in the portal's huge. Like if he gets guys out of the portal that have elite stuff and have an elite fastball, like we're gonna be coming into next year. Like, yeah, if he proves it, yeah, he's gonna be here for a while, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, the final word I would put on this is just for some of you guys to think about this a little bit, think about the Jason Kelly conversation a little bit differently. It's unfair to watch your pitchers give up a bunch of home runs and scream at the pitching coach and say we need to fire him. It's unfair. There's more to it than that. And
Yeah.
ask yourself, like, is it Jason Kelly? Is it him? Is it what is it the pitch calls? Is it that? Or is it that he lost three of the most important pitchers and had to make it work with what he had? Right? I think a lot of people understand offense better than pitching. Like, imagine if this lineup did not. Imagine if Gavin Grahovac, Caden Sorrell, and Chris Sakopian were not in the lineup all year. Just imagine that for a second. And the offense wasn't as great and wasn't very good. Would you scream it early and say he's a bad hitting coach? Or would you say, wow, this team just really got unlucky and with injuries and there is no coach that could have turned this in the right direction with what it has at the moment, right? It's like if you put an elite race car driver in a Honda, Civic or something, they're not going to win a race. The car is is not I want to say the S word, but I can't. The car is not fast. So like that's the conversation is it really Jason Kelly or would this staff actually have been pretty good if he had the arms he thought he would have?
Yeah.
And that's a tough call. I mean, that's
That's
as
that's that's Early's decision that's going to be made in the next couple of days.
yeah,
Was it his fault or was it the injury bug? And
yep.
I think it's a little bit of both. I don't
Which
think
is
it's
what
one
makes
or
it
the
such a
other.
tough
I
choice.
don't think it's one or the other. I think it was both.
And that's why we're you can the other thing that's being evaluated, right, like we talked about, is it's not just is it JK's fault. You can assume it's JK's fault if you want to, but ask, what is it better in the long term to fire him and try to get somebody else, or do we keep him? Right? Because if you fire him and then you just find somebody to hold the place of pitching coach, like you hire somebody quickly because you have to, and then you're basically waiting and putting off hiring the guy that you think is going to be your long term pitching coach, then you're not going to be good for a while.
Mhm.
And so I just don't think it's worth it. If like you want to
And
get the
and
home run higher, and if that's not there, then don't fire the guy.
and if LSU fires Nate Yeski, all of this is null and void.
Yeah,
Just
I
it's just
mean,
that simple.
yeah, exactly. I think we'll do a video when we know what the staff is next year. We know what the decisions. We'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about the portal and what we'll as the team shapes and when recruiting's done and all that. We'll talk
Yep.
about the team and that. That's all I have. I'm
Yeah.
tired.
I'm exhausted and it was
A
emotional
very long
emotional
day.
weekend and emotional day.
Yeah, just A&M got their ass kicked today and yesterday. They got beat by a better team. They got beat by a lot of better teams this year. They weren't good in close
Mhm.
games. They were elite offensively. They were better defensively, and the program is absolutely taking steps in the right direction. They were nationally relevant again,
Mhm.
and
Yeah,
A and
man,
M should
I actually just came up with there's one thing I wanted to add
go
because
for it.
this was my first year of fully being at almost every game and seeing how much this sport matters to this university. and the people that you meet along this journey has been amazing. Um, and it shows how much the how everyone cares about the sport, and that's why we talk about it, how passionate we do. It's because we love this university and we love this sport. Um, so, do I think whatever decisions made, I will be fully supportive of? Because why shouldn't you? It's Early's third year as head coach. It will be Early's third year as head coach, and he's learning. Like and this was a great stepping stone for next year. You didn't make the postseason last year. You were a regional host this year.
Yeah. If I had told you before the season that A&M would have 18 conference wins and be a top 16 national seed with no Caden McCoy and no Josh Stewart the entire year, that's
Yeah,
really impressive from the
that's
staff.
really good
And
job.
it's not just when I say staff, I mean Jason Kelly too.
Yeah,
I mean this pitching staff had a lot of highlights with what they had this year. But yeah, I mean we'll see, guys. It's going to be crazy next couple days. It is, A&M gets early access to portal guys and all that, so that's exciting. While all these other teams are still playing, so yeah, year 3 will be hopefully the best year yet. Hopefully again in the top 8 national seed conversation, and hopefully we're talking about um, another elite team next year. So that's it from us for this season. We started towards the end of the season. I wish we had started making videos earlier, but we will do videos in the off season talking about the roster and all that good stuff. But it's 2:42 in the morning. We've gone for an hour and 40 minutes, and it's time to go to sleep. So thank you very much for watching this late. If you're still up, how many people are watching do you think that are asleep but is still playing on their phone? Like at least 3. No, I bet Noble Guys. This Noble Guy's definitely asleep. His phone is sitting on his pillow, and he's just like, I give
No,
him
we
shit.
appreciate everyone. This was the most fun 4 month stretch I've had since I had to retire from baseball. This was all I could ask for from a fan base, from a team that gave you the chance to play meaningful baseball in the postseason, and that's all you can ask for.
Yep. We'll see you guys very soon, and we will be we will be back at this next year. Um, so excited for what's to come. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you soon. Thank you for watching. Thank you for cheering. Hurts so bad to say goodbye. Yes, Michael, we do it for the love of the game. Thank you
Absolutely.
to thank you so much to everybody for the 15 millionth time, and good night.